CCC19 is a grassroots consortium that was founded by the 5 founding institutions. It started with a social media tweet, and it has snowballed into a global phenomenon. We have more than 100 cancer centers and institutions who are participating right now. It's one of the first registries that started collecting data on our patients with cancer and COVID-19, and now it's the largest registry with a global reach. This was conceived and developed within less than a month, and we have more than 2,000 cases of COVID-19 in our patients with cancer. This is the first publicly released analysis of our cohort within the first month of data lock. We have reported patients' clinical course and outcomes in more than 1,000 patients who were infected with SARS-CoV-2 virus. We looked at 30-day mortality and also secondary endpoint of severe disease. We examined pre-specified clinical variables which have had a significant impact on cancer outcomes and understand how those risk factors affect the disease course of COVID-19 in our patients. So one of the main findings of our studies is that we identified 13% mortality rate in our patients. This is more than double than what was reported as a global death rate by Johns Hopkins Group. This again is not uniformly distributed. Certain subgroups have 0% mortality, especially those who are younger, fit patients with no comorbidities and great ECOG performance status. However, those who have poor ECOG performance status, that is 2 or more, and probably who required mechanical ventilation, they had mortality rates as high as 85%. So there's a wide range of mortality in different groups of cancer patients, so not everyone is affected equally. Now, with regards to the risk factors, after partial adjustment, what we identified is older age, male sex, being a former smoker, and having 2 or more comorbidities or chronic conditions which require active treatment were associated with high mortality rate. With regards to cancer-specific variables, we identified that, again, ECOG performance status of 2 or more, and also being, and also having active cancer, which is progressing or even stable, had higher mortality rate compared to if the cancer was in remission. We identified that the drug combination of hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin had a higher death rate. This could not be, the confounding could not be ruled out by indication of prescribing these drugs and also the severity of disease when it was prescribed or administered. What we didn't find is different variables that have been reported by other studies, such as race, ethnicity, obesity specifically, and also receipt of chemotherapy or surgery within the past 4 weeks was not associated with death. So these were some of the main findings of our study. Sure. So first of all, the most important take-home point is the cancer patients are significantly affected with COVID-19, so much more than general population. So these are our highly vulnerable patients, and we need to be very mindful about the elevated risk of mortality in these patients. Being said that, not everyone has the same risk. So identifying patients who have a higher risk, such as poor performance status is important, or age, male sex, or comorbidities is important. Now, what everyone had on their minds with regards to impact of COVID-19 and how this would affect the cancer care. All of our physicians, patients, caregivers, they wanted to know or are interested to know how COVID-19 would affect the cancer care. So taken together, these study findings suggest that fit cancer patients who have few comorbidities can and should proceed with life-saving anti-cancer treatment. In patients who do have poor performance status or active cancer, need to have a very thoughtful, considerable discussion with their care providers about the risk versus benefit of their treatment. So majority of our patients were based in US, although we did have almost 11% of our cases reported from Argentina, Spain, Canada, but largely it is based in US. We have collaboration with ASCO in Europe. So in the next studies, we would definitely like to compare US versus Europe experience. Definitely. So this is the first reported analysis after our data lock within the first month of starting the consortium. Definitely longer follow-up and larger sample size is being accumulated in the CCC19 database. We would like to continue the follow-up and to give us a more in-depth analysis opportunity to understand how COVID-19 affects long-term outcomes. Being said that, we would also like to look at different treatment strategies, different types of cancer, and also how COVID-19 related therapies have an impact on these outcomes. So there are many studies on the way, and we should be able to share those with you very soon. The general precautions of staying home, hand hygiene, social distancing, all of these are applicable because cancer patients do have an elevated risk. This does not mean that they should miss out on their screenings, on their active cancer treatments or surgeries, because these are life-saving if they are able and if they are fit to have these surgeries. We do not want them to miss out on those treatments, which may have deleterious effect on their health. So everything needs to be weighed with regards to pros and cons, and this hopefully this study and our findings would be helpful to clinicians as well as patient community to understand those risks versus benefits.